Finance Committee meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is the assignment of requests for council action or discussion. We have 1255, a budget amendment, 1256, amending ordinance 17711, 1257, workplace wellness grant program, 1258, amendment to salaries and benefits code in Uniport, 1259, approving Medina City Enterprise Zone minutes, addendum to 11166 Memorial Park Pavilion, 1260 headstone restoration for the Old Town Cemetery Phase 2, 1261 RFPs Medina Railway inspection testing repairs, 1261 again. Maybe this will be 1262. 1262 bids for the Beechwood restoration Phase 1, 1263 qualification statements, bridge replacement repair projects, and 1264 the LPA project agreement with ODOT West Smith Road Phase 1. Next item on the agenda is 1255, the budget amendment. That's number 7761, amending ordinance 17711. Keith?
This and the next item go together. When this was put through, it was put through as 301, but this project is actually for water. It should be paid out of 546. Both those funds got part of the bond money when we issued additional debt in 2010.
I move to approve the budget amendment.
Second.
Any further discussion on the budget amendment? Will clerk please call the roll? I guess we're not at council yet. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Jump to the gun already.
Move to approve to amend the ordinance.
Second.
Any discussion on item number 3, amending ordinance 17711? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks, Keith. Next item is 1257, the Workplace Wellness Grant Program. Mr. Mayor?
Great. This is a program offered by Workers' Comp. We've been talking with Medina Hospital. Medina Hospital Cleveland Clinic is offering a wellness program for the city, but we were trying to find some dollars to actually fund it. And while they were reviewing the legal processes at the clinic, we got this grant from the Bureau of Workers' Comp, and as long as we're up to date with our Workers' Comp payments, bills, which we are, they offer up to $300 per employee over a 4-year period. It's $100 the first year, $75 the second and third year, and $50 the fourth year. The testing that the hospital is offering for us is about $600 to $700 in testing for about $50, which is body mass index, cholesterol, sugars, blood pressures. I might be missing a few. What this workers' comp grant requires is if the city is interested in it, you have to partner with an outside agency that's able to put together the statistical information and then do an annual report. This was the starting baseline, and then after year 1, what it became after year 2. I think coupled with the other programs that we're doing in the city, this would be a positive step for the city to institute a wellness program without having to invest many, if any, dollars, at least not for this grant program. We wouldn't have to, and would also give us a chance to then evaluate it over a 3 or 4 year period, and hopefully in that time period see some of our health care costs either come down or not increase at the percentages they have been as a result of it.
Any questions?
I'm sorry, there's no matching funds at all.
Mayor, can you tell me what's the difference between this program and just an employee going to a doctor, just getting a checkup and getting all of their tests done there? Is it pretty similar? Or?
Well, if they went for the checkup to the doctor, the physical, it may not include like the body mass index and some of the as much as what this would include. They will do a blood draw. They will give you your cholesterol level or your sugar level, things like that. But this is a little bit more intense. What it is it's an initiative from the clinic that they would like to use the city as a model program, kind of a test and evaluate program, and then if they're able to maintain this, then open it up to other industries, and including the schools, some other major employers. So there's a benefit now to to qualify for the workers' comp dollars, it has to meet the specific criteria that the workers' comp says, which just happens to coincide with the same thing the hospital was offering us. So they really dovetail very nicely.
And will the program give recommendations or mandatory adjustments for that employee? Let's say their body mass is too high for their age or weight or height and all that. Is that then is it a recommendation, or then the employee is mandated to lose weight or do something else to counter that?
Yeah, there is no mandate, and if they don't have a primary care physician, what we're negotiating with the hospital is that if they need a specialist, they would make a referral if they don't have one already. If they have one already, they would refer them to their own doctor. Mm-hmm. If they have high blood pressure, if they have high sugar, high cholesterol, things like that, to try to get those things in check. And then both nutritionally, exercise-wise, and medication, if that's necessary, what it's going to take to help them out. From our perspective, in the long run, the healthier workforce that we can have, the more productive they are, the less our health care costs go up. They've also been willing to, I don't want to belabor it too long, but they've also been willing to pass that same $50 fee on to family members, not for the city to pay, but if we pay for the employee and then the employee wants to do their spouse or their spouse and their child, they would keep that same rate for them to do other family members as well. And this has been discussed. Mr. Shields represents council on the health care committee, and this is something that we've been talking about, and it just, all of these things came together and fit. So.
I just want to add here that the private sector is doing the same thing. I know my employer does it. They've been doing it now for years, and they've seen some positive results as a result. Getting people, incenting them to participate in these programs. I think it's a good thing.
And I know, being a clinic employee,
yes,
if you go through this wellness program that they have, they identify if you've got your body mass is too big, or your sugar or blood pressure is out of whack. If you follow their steps, the incentive for us is if you follow it and those levels start to come down, then the next year your premiums remain the same. But you have to participate. That's the key. If you sign up and you don't, and there's not very many insurance companies that there's not going to be an increase. So it's a pretty good incentive for the employees.
Any further questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item is 1258, the amendment to Salaries and Benefits Code section for the Muni Court. Lori?
Hey, John. This is something that I sat and I talked to Lorraine about, and I also talked to Mary Rose Powers, who's the Chief Probation Officer. And there has been some confusion in the past as to why, like the intensive supervision probation officer was put in the part-time section, because if you notice, I don't know if you guys have that copy, but if you notice, there's always been a little blurb at the bottom that says that they get, all full-time benefits. And we've done research, Kathy's tried to help me, and we don't know why Katie Horn put this in this section. So we're talking to Lorraine, trying to clean up the pay code for future generations, not so much us because we understand it. But what we were looking at, and this isn't going to change anything, it's not going to cost anything, it's just going to hopefully clarify it for the future, is to, in the part-time section, 3102B, we should only have the security guard there because they're really part-time. The other two positions are actually grant positions. So we are suggesting to keep them in 3102, but take them out of the B category and put them in G, which G for grants would make sense. Because these positions, these two positions come before the Finance Committee and Council every year once the grant is accepted and awarded, and then the salary changes. So we thought if we put it in its own section, because it's not even guaranteed that it's always going to be a position, then that would we would go down to 3105, and to clean up 3105, they're still listed as they were, but instead of saying part-time for the intensive probation officer, they just list over there what section to look at and that they're classified as grant positions. And then the other thing that we did, if you notice up currently under 3105, we have 2 probation officers listed at 7A through F. And the number amount we would like to just take out because, and I attached a ruling or an opinion that our former law director, Tom Phillips, had given way back in '94, where it states that the judge can have 1 or more probation officers as long as we have the money. So pretty much, as long as we have the budget, we're not limited to just 2. And currently we have 4. So we were just thinking that for future clarification, we do not need a number there. And I'm sure I just confused you all.
I guess the question I have is that I guess I understand that the probation officers can be hired by the judge as many as he wants, provided that there's funds available to pay them. And I guess I'm trying to figure out is that so you can be flexible? I mean, you may have 3. I guess I'm trying to figure out from a budgetary perspective how we keep track of that.
Well, budgetary pretty much is handled during the budget process, but like right now, if we were all gone, if somebody couldn't come to me or Lorene or I don't know, whoever was here when this was put in here like this, they're going to, or say for payroll, they go by the pay code. And if they look at the way it is currently and it says 2 probation officers, they get the pay sheet over and we have 4. So the number is just confusing. And I don't know how you would want to do it other than the fact that it is handled during the budget process. If you want to keep a number in there, then we should be current to the numbers that we have now.
Well, it sounds like from the opinion, and I would assume, I don't know, Mr. Huber, if this opinion still is the same today, that the judge has clear authority to hire as many probation officers as would be funded or to be funded by the city or additional funds if the judge had additional funds to pay for the probation officer. And putting a number in there doesn't limit him to hire the number we put in there. And I guess, is that a true statement?
I think so.
And if we put a number in there, it does not necessarily mean he doesn't have to follow that number.
I think that's true.
Well, I guess it all makes sense.
We're just trying to clean it up, seriously, just for future, pay clerks and civil service clerks and people that will not have those that have the history, as to why it was the way it was.
And my understanding is that the city would pay for the probation officers out of their general fund, but the judge could also use any other funds that he saved up, say carry forward, if he wanted another probation officer. And I don't know, it's all up to the judge of how long he has a particular probation officer, but I would imagine he wouldn't hire somebody for a year and then fire them. But I guess that's flexibility on his end, depending on how he wants to administer probation.
Right, and like currently we have 3 probation officers that are covered under the general fund. And we submit that every budget, we tell you how many. So I think at that point in time, if he needed another probation officer, then that would be the conversation, how are you going to pay for it?
Right.
Come out of probation services or something. But we're not currently trying to change anything. We're not hiring anybody. The conversation just came up after the maintenance guy issue and before. I wanted to be proactive.
Kathy, did we get a chance? Did you email Katie to see if she remembers how it originally ended up this way?
No.
Sometimes Katie has a way of looking at things that there's something else on it.
But I understand what she's saying because, right now, I don't know how that's stated too, and she says they have 4. So, they don't, I guess, have to notify us someone. Pardon me? They don't have to notify us if they hire someone.
Well, no, if we hired somebody else, it would impact our budget. We're not asking, this is not about hiring anybody.
No, I know. I understand that.
I'm saying, I do think that makes sense. I mean,
Right,
it makes
because
sense to
like
me.
I said, right now, if they truly looked at the pay code, we should only have 2.
I'm fine with making the change. I guess I just wanted to understand what somebody's logic was, why they did it the way they did it originally.
Have no clue. None of us really did. Lorena and I sat and talked, we were trying to fit, yeah, well, about all of it. We were trying to fit it all, like clean it up. And then we got into the conversation, we don't know why the full-time probation officer was ever put
Under part-time.
under part-time with full-time benefits.
Oh, yeah.
And they're full-time, so, I don't know.
They may have been hired as part-time to begin with, and then
Never.
instead of
No,
choosing.
because we know for a fact that
The grant's always
the
been
grant was
full-time.
for full-time with the full-time benefits. But
Any further discussion?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is an addendum to 11166, the memorial, I'm sorry, I'm going a little fast here. 1259, approving Medina City Enterprise Zone minutes. And I guess,
Something we do every year if they didn't have any meetings.
well, I don't think we have an enterprise, any business located with an enterprise zone in the city of Medina any longer, so there's really nothing to approve.
Other than that, what did it say? No convene. We have to
Right.
have an ordinance that said we did not convene.
So I entertain a motion to indicate that we did not convene with respect to the enterprise zone recommendations.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we go to addendum 11166, the Memorial Park Pavilion construction. Tim?
Yes, thank you. In addition to the proposed pavilion this evening, council asked me to get some information pertaining to a fireplace. And so I included that in the packet, so hopefully you have a picture of that. I would refer you to page 2, which I hand wrote up on the top. Should be a picture of a fireplace built out of paver bricks. That cost is just a little bit under $9,000. I would note that a chimney go from that height through the roof of the pavilion, assuming this is attached somehow to the pavilion, would be an additional expense. The contractor wasn't sure, but it would be based on the height. And then also the footer, a concrete footer would be necessary. That would be an additional expense for the fireplace. I do not have a picture, but he estimated a fire pit to be under the $9,000 expense. And so this would be constructed out of pavers, and it'd be away from the pavilion, but it'd probably be at a cost of just under the fireplace expense. So that is the two options there. I also threw in a third option. This one is a grill island, and I would have you go to page 4. I took a picture of this down in Montville Township. Theirs was constructed out of cinder block. The quote that I got was constructed out of paver bricks, and this one was an option for $5,394. The proposal would be built away from the pavilion, at some distance, maybe 10 feet on concrete sidewalk. I wanted you guys to see this as a consideration as well.
Any questions?
The last option, is that, besides a fire pit, does that look like to me it's a grill on top too, so that people can cook on it?
Yeah, that's one of the grills. I just did a close-up picture of the grill island. There's 2 places for the park users to grill.
Mm-hmm.
That's just one side of it.
To me, this option number 4 here, the double charcoal grill, is probably the most practical. 2 groups that can cook it as one, and it's nothing there that's going to be tied into the pavilion itself that may cause problems down the road. That's the way I look at it. I really do have a problem with spending $9,000 for something that it doesn't necessarily fit into the decor and obviously not practical.
Is this the 9,000 or the 5,000? Is that just for the material, or are we getting the labor?
That would be the labor as well.
So, had we talked to the masonry class at the county?
I talked to the landscaping class that would be doing this. They do not have experience in paper bricks.
Okay.
I saw Brittany at a conference and had asked her about it, and they do not do paper bricks at this time.
I guess the first question I have, if you go up to page 1, you show the Montville pavilion with the...
Oh, okay, yes.
Is that just...
Well, that's the next topic, but I just wanted to see what council felt with the fireplace versus the grill. Do you want me to pursue the fireplace?
Well, it sounds like there's not a good, unless there's other comments. It seems like the grill's more as pulp or practical than the fireplace, and it'll probably be used more. Because the next question is, you have a fireplace, you got to haul your own wood.
Correct.
And I don't see that happening too much, maybe. And then the question would be, if you put it within the pavilion, I'd be a little bit nervous because they're not putting the fire out when they leave. They're going to let the fire keep going, and who knows if if you ever did a fireplace, I think it would have to be away from the pavilion.
To be honest, I had some reservations about that as well, just because stuff can happen, especially when we're not there. And I would hate to have a proposed new pavilion constructed and something happen to it.
Tim, did we at one point have grills, kind of portable grills that we...
There still are grills there.
I'm just struggling a little bit with, this is nice, but for $5,400 versus just having the portable grills. And Paul, don't they have the Forest Meadows? Isn't that what they have?
Yes, we have 2 portable, they're permanent portable grills.
Yeah, they're
similar to the park system would have, yes.
That's the only thing, Tim. I guess for $5,400, it still seems pretty expensive for grills.
Yes, and Mr. Rose was correct. I was trying to display, maybe going from the fireplace to the grill island as a better comparison. Instead of putting the money in the fireplace, if council wanted to go with something like a safe alternative, was the grill island. I certainly am not objecting to just standard grills for this park.
And when I brought this up when we initially started discussing the topic, and that was just because of the old pavilion that had the fireplace. It was utilized. I don't think I would support, obviously I wouldn't support a $9,000 cost, but I was looking more along the lines of getting things donated. If I don't even know about $5,000 for we can buy quite a few freestanding grills out there for $5,000. So, but thanks for checking into that.
Okay.
Any other questions?
And then getting to page 1, this was a Montville Township Pavilion. And essentially what I was demonstrating here, the question came up with the cedar versus pine for the ceiling. Kind of the change that's been going on with new pavilions constructed in this area, Medina Township, Montville Township, and also the county parks have gone to some sort of pine or cedar ceiling. The big reason is because of the trusses. They're trying to eliminate the trusses with the bird droppings, making a habitat for the birds. And so there's some differences to achieving that. I talked to Tom James, he had Buckeye Woods Pavilion built, the bigger one, was a kit, and it had the trusses. And then he just told me they went and changed that to a vaulted ceiling with pine boards. And so I would propose this evening changing it from cedar to pine, and that's the reason for that picture.
And what's the cost difference we're talking about now?
Okay, so the final cost would be awarding to Rad Construction based on a 32 by 48 by 9 pavilion. We'd have untreated pine boards on the ceiling. The total cost is $22,071.53. And
what were the other 2 options? What were the other 2 options before? Again, refresh my memory. You had 2 other options. You had the one that was like at York Township, and what was that cost?
That one before was about $24,000. Okay. So dropping the cedar ceiling, we saved some money.
And what's the size? Is it compatible with there currently, or is this larger?
It's a little bit, the footprint's just a little bit larger, but we can keep the concrete pad intact and utilize that. We just want the posts to go a little bit wider. The current pavilion's kind of on a funky configuration. It's like 31 feet by 27 feet. It's an odd number, so we're just going to put the posts on 8-foot center.
Now, would you have to do more concrete work to put?
Yes.
And is that cost included in here?
It is not.
What about electric or anything? Would you have? You're going to
We
have.
would call Ohio Edison to disconnect the service. That's a free thing for them to do. They come out that day. And I had the electrician go out there. Essentially, we would have to disconnect the power, and for about 2 or 3 weeks, Jump Park would not be lit up, but the pool and everything else would have power to it. But we would have to have another expense to put a new panel, if you will. We have to have a meter. That's already provided. We just have to put the service in some sort of panel. Currently, it's up in the pavilion. We could do the same thing.
Do we know the cost of it? I guess the question is, where's that money going to come from?
That would come from parks.
That
would be a
carryover
different
stuff, or
yeah,
plans?
that I do have in my budget.
Now, would you need new picnic tables and all that underneath there, or what would you do with that?
No, sir. Those we're good on the picnic tables. We the parks crew during the winter replace all the boards and sand them and paint them and get them ready. This year we didn't paint them in thinking for the big day of serving. We're going to have them do it then. But we did replace the boards, and from time to time we'll order just the metal to build a picnic table and buy the wood here, and then we'll put them together.
One last question. The bigger picture then, is this the idea you want to go with all the parks then? Is to get rid of the trust in all the different parks from the birds or what have you? I know we just put a new one up at Sam Massey.
And yes, and that one's a typical pole and post type of pavilion. We just eliminated the trusses with the pine board. And so that ceiling is not vaulted. It's basically flat like this ceiling. And so that would be more typical of the direction for our future pavilions. I think this one's going to be kind of a one of a kind for our parks department.
Question.
Tim, do you have any idea what the cost for the new concrete around the existing pad would be? Ballpark.
I know the new pavilion at Sam Massey was about $5,000 for concrete. I anticipate this to be a 2-foot edge all the way around, 32 feet by 2 feet wide. I'm not sure how much that would be, but I'm guessing about $3,000.
I'm just, we've talked about this plenty already, and I'm not going to take up too much time. I still feel that, even with this example, I know some adjustments were made, but, you're looking, once said and done, you're looking probably around ballpark $27,000 for the new pavilion. Yes, it's the most rented, but I personally think that we could hope maybe do something a little less and spread that money out for the other pavilions in the rest of our park system that also need help. It looks nice, but I was hoping we could spread that money out a little further, because I know he has a lot of projects coming up, and there's some areas in the park system that need some TLC, and I don't think I'm going to be able to support it. Thanks.
Any other questions?
I think it's all. I think you did a good job of comparison, and way too expensive for any kind of a fireplace or fire pit. But I really agree with Mark. It's a picnic pavilion. People are just going to picnic there, and I think that it's a pole building. And if you can do it the least cost you can do it for, the more money there is to do other things. I would prefer to see it be simplified.
Other questions? The only thing I have is, we went through this also, and it's kind of hard to step back for me, because we gave you a budget, you save your money, you can spend it what you want to spend it on. And if you think this is the highest priority in the parks to have a pavilion, I may not agree with it, but you think it is. You have that money, you're using that money. Once you use all your money, you're not getting any more. So, at least not for me. So the question I have is this, this is what you believe will revitalize the park, let's say, for keeping the rentals up, and I'm not sure what the useful life of this structure is. I don't know if these have been around a long time, or if you had any information from them. Is it 50 years that this, untreated pine will last, or does it deteriorate after 20, or I don't know how that would last.
With the issue with the ceiling, everyone I spoke to seems to believe that the untreated pine is not going to get weathered and could last as long as a typical pavilion would last. I have not replaced any pavilions other than this one that's proposed. I think it's the oldest one. And to get these pavilions on a rotation, a lot of people put them on like a 25-year rotation, for example. So to answer your question, I anticipate this one being around for a long time. With our current plan to replace any pavilions, they'd be typical at Sam Massey. We would buy the lumber and have the Career Center, if they were willing. That's one way that we're making a savings. Another way that we're also making a savings.
They're going to put this one together? Or is
No, but any future pavilions. This one's going to be the largest one that we're going to do.
I appreciate that, Tim.
Yeah.
You're reaching out to volunteers around the community. I still think this could be something similar to that.
I understand that.
Maybe I'm wrong. So.
Tim, what did the Sam Macy one cost with the volunteers?
Total, it was about $12,000.
And it's not quite as big as this one?
No, it's much smaller.
And that's the problem with this one. We've asked the Career Center to look at this one, but it's too large for what they're comfortable with doing.
And if we did the same style as the one at Sam Macy, but bigger, it's probably about $16,000, we thought.
You're probably not saving labor costs. It's probably going to be about $6,600 in labor. But the material would be less expensive. You'd probably save about $4,000. I think the material would be somewhere about $12,000.
I'm trying to figure out here if we all feel like, okay, maybe we need to be a little bit more cost effective here. How soon did you want to have this one built, Tim?
If I can't do it now, then we're already delaying booking it just because it was being considered. We would postpone it till this winter.
I'm just trying to think if we need to take it to a foundation or some private, somewhere to look for some funds for the difference. So what the basic would cost versus an upgrade one, because this is the one at Jump Park and the most used one. I guess I throw that out there to everybody. Would everybody feel better if we spent as much as similar to what we spent at Sam Macy, but acknowledging it'd be a little bit bigger, it's more expensive, and you don't have the free labor? And then we try to find the difference to get it up to this point.
See, what I'm struggling with is that, Tim has a lot of items that we need to get done, and, maybe going out a little further than the Career Center. I know there's a lot of organizations out there that want to find some way to help the community, and, I don't want to sit up here and think we're asking to try to get everything for free, but there's people out there that are in the construction business, in that kind of line of work, that I'm sure would be willing to take a couple weekends to construct that and take some pride in the community. And I don't want to hold up Tim anymore. I know he's been trying to get this done for 3 months now, and it's just personally how I feel. That I know he's got a lot of things on his list with a limited amount of money, and I know the community demands a lot for our park systems. So I'm just, like I said, just trying to see what we can do to be a little more creative to figure out how we can make that money stretch. So that's all.
I definitely, 110% support this project, but I do agree with Jim. I don't know if that should be your responsibility to go out and try to find a foundation that's going to be willing to pay the difference. But if there's funds available through somebody else in the community to help fund it, I would support that. But I do feel this is the most utilized as far as running, and because we have such facilities there, the jump park, the memorial pool, the dog park, and the areas not for so much sports, but the areas utilized by people that aren't playing sports more than any other facility in the city. So I would support that, but I also agree with Jim that maybe we can
Well, Mayor and I sit on one foundation, and I know we're going to meet in the next couple of weeks. I've been kind of waiting to see if this is something that, depending on where it went today, whether it was something we should bring up at that meeting. So it's really not having any extra work for Tim, but it is probably a couple more weeks away.
What is the build time on this?
About 2 to 3 weeks. We have to demolish it too. To be honest, we can pursue grants, or I would be interested in that. But I do need to know tonight if I should just postpone this till the end of the season, in fairness to the people who've been calling. I think this window in April is about all I'll have to demolish the existing and build a new one. If I can't do it tonight, then I'll probably just delay it.
And I appreciate, I think Ray Mallard Volunteers did that one, didn't they, Tim?
Ray Mallard?
The one over at Mallard Park. Didn't the Rotary help with that? Or
It's probably, Lions or
Lions, yeah. And I imagine, Mark, there are probably some volunteer groups probably not going to be able to build quite as an elaborate one. I think it's easier for those groups.
We've already seen a savings with every pavilion in our park system. Everyone was donated, to be honest. And we're also, saving by not hiring some of the positions. Like we have one vacancy. We're trying to do more with less. And we understand there's a lot to do. I don't feel like I'm going to have a shortage in the next 12 months or maybe even the next 24 months rather. And so I'm not concerned as much with this expense. I feel that the longevity and the service life of this pavilion that we've seen is going to pay for itself.
Yeah,
I mentioned the rentals. It'll pay for itself in about 5-6 years.
And Denny and I both think it's probably at least 50 years old. This one, so we did obviously get a lot of usefulness out of
it. It's been in finance since October is when I brought it. To be honest, and I'll just move on to another item. To be honest.
Look, guys, let's figure out before we move. We want to know if the votes are first.
I'm all in favor of saving some money, and I think maybe if we do postpone this till later on in the year, will give us a better chance to maybe gather some volunteers or some volunteer dollars and allow us to get the plan a little bit set a little bit better in exactly what we want to do with this pavilion. But I am all in favor of replacing it this year. Let's just postpone it until the end of the year and get a little bit better plan put together.
It seems like there's not enough votes to pass it tonight because it seems like everybody would like to see if there's any other funding sources to cover the difference. So I guess
how much you're looking about $5,000?
I mean,
well, that's what I was going to ask. I mean, if it was the same as Sam Macy, but same style, and Tim gets me a quote for that says it's a difference of maybe it is $16,000 or $17,000, and then we can get $5,000. The mayor and I can certainly ask at our next foundation meeting if they would pay the difference. Is everybody going to be okay with that then?
I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm. And I do have that quote. I think I presented that last time on that. I'll find the difference. Thank you.
All right, Tim, thanks for getting that information. We'll put this one on hold a little bit. I guess you can tell the people, run it out if it can last through the summer, and then maybe in the fall, if we can get the money together, bring it back and revisit it. All right.
I'll just say one more. And Tim, I'm willing to help search for some additional funds. I don't want you to think we're going to. I know Jim's already stated, I'm willing to reach out there too to help and find some volunteers. I don't want to throw it all back on you. I know you got a lot on your plate. So
I think the easiest thing is to just type up the letter and the request and the need, and then that same letter can be used for the multiple foundations as well as some service clubs that maybe if they can't afford labor, they would be willing to donate, X amount of dollars or X amount of materials or whatever. And we'll just do a blanket reach, see what we can do now that we have the time to be able to put together something and come back in plenty of time to resolve the issue.
Okay, thanks. We'll keep you on the hot seat, Tim. The next one's yours, 1260 Headstone Restoration for the Old Town Cemetery Phase 2.
Okay. This item is another $25,000 expenditure. This is for Phase 2 to Cutlet Construction. Attached is a proposal for the restoration project work at Old Town Cemetery. Essentially, we're dividing the Old Town Cemetery into thirds, and we can accomplish some restoration work that's really much needed and has been endorsed by the Cemetery Commission, Main Street Medina, and of course our Friends of the Cemetery Commission. The Friends of the Cemetery will match these dollars to be spent at Spring Grove Cemetery. So the city will pay $25,000 to restore the work at the Old Town Cemetery. I'm proposing that money come from carry forward, and then also we can do additional work at Spring Grove Cemetery.
Any questions?
No, I'd just like to comment that the Friends of the Cemetery, the funds they have available to them has to be, I just want to tell, and we talked about this last year, has to be spent at Spring Grove. Otherwise, they're in favor of, would be in favor of just paying for the Old Town Cemetery, but they're not able to their trust. So that's why they came to the Cemetery Commission and said, the next phase is $25,000. We will definitely put $25,000 towards work at Spring Grove.
Any other questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Well, I just have a comment. Real quick, I went out and looked at phase one of the Old Town Cemetery, and, I was impressed with the work that was done. And just, I was amazed only how far 25 could go there. I'm not familiar with what it takes to restore these stones. I mean, some of them you still can't really read them, but, I thought the money would go further, but I was impressed with the third of the section that was done. I was thinking that maybe it would have been half, but not a third.
And no offense, I voted no on the first one, I'll vote no on this one. Just saying. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. Motion carries. Next item, number 9, 1261, RFPs, Medina Railroad Inspection, Testing, and Emergency Repairs. Pat?
Thank you. With the railroad the city owns, we annually issue 4 contracts, one for track inspection, one for highway grade crossing, which are lights and gate inspection. Those inspections are required by law. We also hire 2 contractors, one to maintain the lights and gates, perform emergency repairs, and one for the track structure on the rail itself. The last time we went out for an RFP was, I think, 4 or 5 years ago. We've got 2 good contractors. We're very happy with them, but I think it's time that we go out again and test the waters and see if we can maybe we'll get a better price. That's the reason we submitted it here.
Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say the same. Motion carries. Item number 10, 1262, bids for Beechwood Drive reconstruction phase 1. Pat?
As it states, this is the reconstruction of Beechwood Drive from the Miller-Harding Street intersection to Hickory Grove. This will include new pavements, new water lines, new storm sewer. This was part of the package list of projects we had when we sold the construction bond.
Questions?
Pat?
Yeah.
Are there going to be catch basins put in for the storm sewers, or are we just going to let the water run in? Because I know living in the area, there's a lot of silting problems in those lakes back there, and anything that can be done to keep them from silting in, I think would be appreciated.
Yeah, to be honest with you, we had planned on just inlet basins, but that's something we can look at. We've installed in other areas where there's silting problems. We've installed stormwater treatment chambers. We can certainly look into that.
Okay. Do you have a ballpark of what it might do to the cost here?
It shouldn't be. I mean, this is a $1 million project. If I recall, the last one was somewhere around $5,000 to $6,000. And typically, we'll probably, I think we've got 8 or 10 catch basins to go in. Not each of those needs to be that treatment type unit. Really, just the last 1 or 2 before it's released to the lake. So.
Okay. All right, if we could look into that, I think that would be great. Thank you very much.
Any further questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 1262 qualification statements for bridge replacement and repair projects. Pat.
Thank you. Last year, ODOT required municipalities of our size to do formal bridge inspections. We've always done our bridge inspections in-house. It was a bit of an exercise, but it was very good. We'll be doing those annually. Anyhow, as a result of those inspections, there were 4 of the city's 16 bridges that needed some attention, including 2 that were recommended to be put in rotation for replacement. The South Elmwood Bridge, which I think council already knows about, we submitted an application for funds, and we believe we're going to get those funds through Ohio Public Works Commission when they're released this July. Spring Grove Bridge over Bradley Creek also needs to be replaced, and then Guilford, between culverts, Guilford and Gates Mills, don't need replacements, but they need some significant repairs. We're requesting here that we go out with qualification statements for engineers to design these projects. The Spring Grove Bridge, I don't believe we're going to release any kind of work on that this year. That's the type of thing the recommendation was scheduled for replacement, so we're looking a couple years out, which will give us time to find some more, hopefully find another grant to help us pay for it. But the South Elmwood, of course, we already have a grant, we're moving forward with that. And Guilford and Gate Mills, we'd like to move forward with those as well. So.
What's the estimated cost for the replacement of the South Elmwood Bridge?
South Elmwood is not, $569,000.
Any questions?
Hey, Pat, on the, sorry, on the Guilford Boulevard Bridge and the Gates Mills, what kind of life expectancy or you think we're adding to with just the repairs? I mean, we get another 15 years out of these?
Yeah, I was actually in the Guilford one last week, and it needs some repair. It's got to be done, but it's a relatively minor section of the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
We do this, I'm sure, every 5-6 years or so. We'll probably have to do some more maintenance and repairs, but I don't think we're looking at replacing many years. I kind of hesitate to throw a number out there, but at least 15-20 years.
And then the South Elmwood Bridge, wasn't there some talk about the old stones that were underneath there? Jim, didn't you bring that up at one of our?
I know there are some. It is. It's not what you. When you get underneath there is a historic bridge work or stone work under there.
Yeah, the bridge there now was built, I believe, in 1960 or 61, but that was actually built over top of a bridge that was there previously. And the original bridge abutments are those old barnstones.
Right.
And those are still there.
What are the
plans? There was
plans?
some discussion about trying to incorporate those, probably decoratively, somehow into the wood bridge.
Yeah.
Right. I thought you said we weren't going to be able to incorporate it. Do we have any
We wouldn't be able
plans?
to use them for any structural purpose.
No, but
as a decorative element,
we can save them
it
for
could be
something.
considered. I'm open to ideas. I'm not sure what we can do.
Yeah, we could save those. I mean, you can put them in the park. You can
Oh, yeah,
put
that's
them
what
in
I'm
all
saying.
kind of things where people can use them to sit on or whatever.
Yeah, they'd be nice elsewhere. To actually use them at the bridge. Could be a
Any other questions for Pat on this one?
Yes. Move to approve.
Thanks, second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 12, 1264 LPA project agreement with ODOT West Smith Road Phase 1. Pat.
Thank you. We've signed these agreements in the past where ODOT's involved when we have federal money for projects. The 2 in the past were North Huntington Street and the last phase, Phase 3 at Guilford. What it is because it's federal money, if you don't enter into this agreement, ODOT runs the project. They bid it, manage it, they control it. Isn't a bad thing, except that they also charge us for that quite a bit of money. We found in both cases, both Huntington and Guilford, we were able to save a considerable amount of money by doing it ourselves. At North Huntington, we hired a consultant to help us. There's quite a bit of paperwork associated with these projects because of the federal involvement. So being our first time, we hired a consultant to help us through that. Guilford, we got to a point where we felt we could handle it on our own, and we did. And both projects get audited and both passed. So This one, I'm kind of hesitant, not asking for any funds now, we just need to sign the agreement. When it comes time for the project, depending on our workload, I may kind of just forewarn, you may come back and ask that, again, that we may want to hire a consultant again to help us just with the paperwork type thing. I think last time, I think on Huntington, it cost us like $30,000 or something. And it was about a 60% savings over whatever that was.
Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Last item is 1265, liability and property insurance renewal. Mayor. Dawn.
This is our annual renewal. You'll notice it's an increase from last year, a little bit of our expiring cost is $104,547, and this year it's $108,785. And the reason for that is we added a couple vehicles, one being a sanitation truck and the other Medina Cable Access's vehicle. We deleted a couple vehicles, added the garage addition, and we noticed that when we did the inventory of the vehicles, they were missing some for last year. So we fixed that, and this will go into effect April 1st.
Therefore, the emergency clause.
You got it. We've been working on this since February, and it just has taken them a while to get the information back and put together, and he gave it to me, I believe, late on Friday of last week, I think is when it was.
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second with the emergency clause.
Any further questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I believe that is it for the finance agenda. I don't know what to do.
Hey, you know, Mark.